Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another high impact, high takeaway value video podcast. I'm your host, Brad Stevens, and this is our thought leadership series. I'm bringing on tremendous experts that are focused on helping business owners, small to medium businesses redefine how they scale. And I got an incredibly competent and highly skilled and experienced individual, Alex, on with me today, and we'll dive in. But thanks, Alex, for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it is awesome to be here. Thanks, Brad.
Alex has just got a tremendous depth on AI. And then we know AI is kind of all over the place and everybody's saying it and so forth, but Alex truly has a tremendous background on it. And then how he's zoomed in with a current offering that he's doing with businesses. Going to share some great case studies and examples with us on application. And I'll obviously be able to share through our world at Outsource Access of how virtual assistants and how we're using AI and kind of how these two concepts dovetail. But as we'll talk about, regardless of the solution, it starts with really understanding the problem and the constraints, right? And that will be timeless forever. And that's really where it starts. And both of us got some unique ways we go about doing that and helping clients figure out what are your real problems and your challenges before you talk about, what solution, right? If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And sometimes I think AI feels like, kind of the same way. So excited to dive into that. But as I always promise right from the beginning, going to share a quick tool resource podcast maybe you haven't heard of before that could add value to your life. So if you hear nothing else we talk about, you're going to get some quick wins right at the beginning here. And Alex, I know, is knee deep in all this space. So I'll let you jump in first. Alex, what are some cool tools maybe folks haven't heard of you can share today?
Awesome. Well, I've got three that I can share. So the first is an online digital office platform called Roam, ro.am. It's something that we use. And the thing that I love about it is, unlike traditional just flat video meetings where you only connect with your team in the meeting, which means that your team members only see 4 or 5 people, you can see the whole team. Who's talking with whom, who's hanging out in which offices. You can poke your head in, talk to somebody for 2 minutes. It's just an awesome platform. And one of the really cool things about it is that they've incorporated a bunch of tools. So for example, for those, I love Loom. They built a tool in called Magicast that essentially is Loom. So it's already in that subscription.
Oh, wow.
And they've got a couple of other tools like that. So instead of a Calendly, I can do it through that system. So as a business owner, it's a money saver. But I think the most important thing is it's an incredible way to maintain the culture as a distributed organization. So huge believer in this one.
Yeah, I remember seeing when I booked with you and I talked earlier, I saw the extension and I briefly looked at this website. And by the way, these aren't like, affiliate structures. We probably should make it, but I just like to share some tools and resources that you guys can check out. We'll put in the show notes if it could be of value to you. So it sounds like they're kind of trying to make it a one-stop shop where you have a virtual work environment, right? And
exactly. Like you see in that picture there, if you scroll down here, you see that's the office right there. You can see who's here, who's having conversations. You feel connected to the whole instead of just the people in your immediate group.
Very cool. All right. So ro.am. Fantastic. All right. What you got next?
So that's the biggie. Jump into the opposite end of the spectrum, a very tactical, specific purpose item. There's a bunch of these that exist, but on the Mac, I love being able to have a tool to be able to just press one key and whatever I say gets typed for me. The app I recommend for that is called Whisper Flow, no H, WISPR Flow. And once you set it up, you hold down one key. So whether you're typing an email, whether you're programming, and it's just a great way to capture your voice. I love
WISPR, right?
WISPR.
Whisper Flow. Okay, here we go. All right, throw this one up here. Okay, so this is because I love voice to speak.
It's simple. Well. Yeah. And there's a bunch of voice tools out there that you talk and then it runs it through a whole bunch of AI and templates and stuff. They try to do too much. This is simple. So if you're just looking to capture your voice, done.
Fantastic. So you capture your voice and being able to do voice memo, voice instruction.
Exactly. It's not doing voice instruction. It's just a great way that if you want to write an email, if you want to work on a document, you're working on a presentation, anything where rather than typing, you just want to talk. It's just a great way to do the simple transcription directly in. So it's, again, built for specific purpose. It's not the bigger purpose of control your whole computer with your voice. And they do a good job because they keep it simple.
Well, I'm going to check this out because you'll see down here in my tray, this icon here is Dragon, right? So Dragon,
similar.
Because a lot of us, right? I mean, when we're sending text, nobody types anything anymore, right? And so voice to text, we're actually so much more productive on our cell phones because we can do voice to text and I can send 10x, but then I sit in front of my computer and I was like, typing, that's no fun. And so Dragon Nuance is one that I've been using. And so I literally launch it and use this speaker to it's anytime I'm emails or chat or what have you, I'm doing voice. But it's got a few little, challenges in it. So I'm curious. I'll have to check this one out as well. It looks like it's pretty seamless and looks like it's, so you download it locally. Very cool.
Download it locally on the Mac, and that's what I like. It's in the background. You press and hold one key, so it's a push to talk. And again, simple is the magic word. And I think for all the tech stuff, it's got to be simple and practical. And then the third one, back to the bigger again, and is the RelevanceAI.com agent platform. This is one of the many platforms out there, but as I'll say, a little more on the visionary side myself in terms of being able to paint that vision to something. It's not stringing together boxes like some of the other tools where you're mapping out a workflow. You're more building just a textual, here's what I want. And they've got a great vibe coder, if you will, in it, where you tell it, hey, here's the agent I want, and it builds it. They've got lots of tool integrations already built in. And I'm just a big believer that, especially as leaders, we have to at least be comfortable enough with what is this stuff and how does it work at a high level to then start figuring out where we apply it in the business. And this is a good platform for that.
Wow. So this is so it's a much, I know, like I've heard of N8N, which I know you're very familiar with.
Similar.
But it's a simplified kind of more version of that.
N8N again is great. If you love flowcharts, N8N is your tool. If flowcharts drive you nuts, this is your tool.
Gotcha. All right. Well, man, those are three fantastic, great tools to share. And I'll share one on we just purchased in the middle of implementing right now is it's actually probably intro you probably would like. I'll connect you to this guy. It's called Flowchat. So, and I'll talk about, right, the modern marketing, I feel, is all about great content creation and at scale. That's going to adding tons of value, educating, and whoever can produce and distribute the best high quality educational, high value content is going to win, right? It's being able to assemble the right combination of people and tech and process to kind of make that happen. But one of the best places to engage when it comes to, from a interaction standpoint is like, and again, cold email and cold calling and all the other different channels and, paid advertising and what have you. But, as we know, the numerator is starting to get so big that you've got to do on cold initiatives that you got to be, work smarter versus harder. And so a lot of people may have heard of like mini chat and those that whenever you do posting content, you'll see people, the call to action isn't click a link. It's like, hey, and, DM the word, AI to me, and it'll, send you a tool or a resource. But this tool, Flowchat, it's one of the most incredible platforms I've seen. I've been knee deep in going through all the demos and implementing it ourselves for a while now. And basically it allows you to go in, and it's a browser-based installation. So you can go in and go into any of your social platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, or what have you, and you can engage and pull in contacts and resources. So for example, big focus we're doing at Outsource Access, focusing a lot on the restaurant industry space. So if I want to go on here and go find like a thought leader, right? Somebody that's a thought leader in a particular industry, I can go in here and so let's say if Alex here, look at Alex there. If Alex, you were a big advocate, right, in the restaurant industry space, or a thought leader, and I wanted to kind of do a message or engage with all of your followers, because I know that they're kind of engaged in that space, I can click a button and pull in all of your followers into the Flowchat platform, and then I can create a step-by-step nurture sequence to do outreach and connection via messaging. So you can pull in everybody that posted or liked on a specific comment, right? So we had a client that posted a lot of content and mentioned about VAs, right? And then all the people that commented on it obviously show interest. So I can pull all those people in, go start a flow chat with them in Flowchat.
Nice.
And say, hey, just saw you, Brad here, saw you commented on so forth about the VAs, thought you'd find this. And you don't spam them with tons of crap, right? You just send them educational content, send them videos and so forth. So really, really powerful platform. I haven't seen one that allows you to both do outbound as well as be responsive when people are commenting on your posts. Great analogy they talked about is like, DMs are kind of like the hallways of like, the conferences, right? You go into a big conference and there's the big speaker one way, and that's kind of like your mass email, but it's the hallways. That's where the chat conversation happens. And DM kind of being a lot around that. So I'm sure you can probably speak and probably build some AI tools that do this kind of thing. But
I've actually talked to a number of people about exactly this kind of thing with LinkedIn, and it's, I love what you're talking about. I think one of the risk areas for something like this, and I don't know if it's anything about this tool, is there are a lot of folks that want to just do fire and forget with those LinkedIn engagements and let the AI generate the content and do a bunch of that outreach. And that is super risky. Using it to identify who to talk with and help you. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Like,
but
example,
letting the AI
go ahead on restaurants. And so, and and you'll talk about this, knowing the AI tools or virtual assistant, all that stuff is great, but you still got to know the assets and content, right? That you still have to have the creative messaging around that, and you can't purely leave AI to it. So for example, when we're connecting with someone that I know is a restaurant owner that's using Restaurant 365, which is a software platform that we know how to run very well for clients, we'll just connect, right? And then we'll send them like a link to, hey, thought I'd, reach out, weren't sure if you're aware, but we, when I was in the Philippines last, I actually interviewed one of our staff that runs Restaurant 365 for a big location chain out of Virginia. I thought I'd share it with you. No ask, no push, no sell, but I'm subconsciously addressing the doubt, fear, and concern people have with offshore. What about competency? What about language and so forth? And then after that, I'll share, hey, did a podcast with another big restaurant owner that we helped save them 30% on their catering by, using, use this to run Restaurant 365. So yeah, to the point, you do create your own content, but then I've never seen something that does a funnel towards all the messaging and a messaging strategy kind of outreach. So
I'll have to take a look at that one. Thank you.
It's top of mind. Kind of jumped on it recently, but well, cool. Well, those are all awesome tools, and we will share those in the show notes with everybody. Nothing else. Like I said, you get your time's worth just on checking those out. Those are great shares. So I'll jump in now to really kind of introduce our guest, Alex. We'd like to share those tools right up front so you get a quick win. But Alex and I connected through a couple different mutual relationships, and through the Flourish board group, which is a phenomenal kind of board advisory group that Mike created and ended up bringing us together, and got a chance to connect. I spoke to their group on at their Flourish advisory board on VAs and outsourcing, and kind of addressed it. And this is a topic Alex knows well about, but other people kind of weren't on. So we connected there initially. And that's how we grow a lot of our businesses, doing a lot of speaking and education. And so Alex and I connected there and had a couple talks. And so I wanted to bring him on to podcast and share his experience around AI and kind of his background, and really gonna be able to leverage, his boiler kind of bio is helps teams adapt to the new world of work, right? And create employee experiences that empower people to achieve business results. His superpower is his keen sixth sense to look around the corner of what's next with technology to empower people and help businesses thrive. Author of billion-dollar apps, who doesn't want one of those, and practical AI for leaders. An adjunct professor of computer science and CEO of Chief Geek of LexTech, an Apple enterprise partner that applies cutting-edge tech to drive huge business results through tech-powered employee experiences people love. So if Apple's choosing him, somebody we ought to probably listen to. So thanks, Alex, for joining, man. I appreciate it.
Again, awesome to be here, and looking forward to having some fun together.
Yeah, man. So aside from the, what's the standard out of the box kind of bio there, kind of fill in the gaps, give some more color, your background, and then tell us about what's going on with kind of your new latest project and kind of the value you're making AI be really digestible and achievable for small to medium business to kind of step into this space.
Definitely. Well, my core focus, I'm a half geek, half entrepreneur. It's always been about how do we apply technology to help people thrive at work. That's my why. And that from a LexTech perspective, that's what we've been doing the last 25 years, which is really focusing on what are the business challenges, and then where does technology give superpowers to employees so that they can address those challenges. Through our 15-year partnership with Apple, we've done a ton of work in the Fortune 1000, major airlines, pharmas, all that kind of stuff. So lots of really impactful, cool stuff, latest technology stuff. But one of the things that I've always been looking for, and AI is another example of it, is
now, real quick before you do that, because I know our listeners are kind of curious, what does it take to earn, and what has it been like being a 15-year partner with Apple? I mean, we know the standards that they have. So just quick little sidebar. I'd be curious for everybody to know that are kind of, because a lot of people don't think, those are never possible. Just, what was your entry point there, and what has that been like to and be able to earn to remain an Apple partner for this long?
It is, so first off, it is ridiculously hard. It was
right out of the way, right up front.
Just being honest. But it was, for me, it was all about, so if I rewind 2008, iPhone was just coming out. At the time, we had created the most advanced iPhone application on the planet. It actually was replacing a $100,000 piece of equipment. It was video surveillance systems. So the stuff that people would fill an entire room with, we had come up with ways to essentially take all that high-end equipment and video and get it onto a phone. We were the first organization to ever do that. Wow. Happened to be at a trade show where all of that kind of stuff was being talked about, border security, government folks, and found out somebody from Apple was there, tracked them down, showed them what we were doing. And that kind of turned into, can I have a copy of that? Which then turned into me being out in Western Virginia, briefing lots of government 3-letter agencies on the power of mobility in Apple's offices and talking about their platform and just how do you use mobility. For me, it's always been, I've had a chance to teach 500 plus people at Apple. I've onboarded Apple employees. It's just being a resource has been the key for us because they're amazing at the hardware, but they were traditionally a consumer-oriented company. So when it came to how do you apply this in the business and especially the enterprise world, that was who we were. So we brought our expertise and we just helped educate. And that turned into great opportunities, lots of mutual trust, very similar cultures in terms of believing in not just user experience, but employee experience and people. And that, again, a lot of work, but it's been well worth it.
Man, what a great journey. And it's at the end of the day, look, it just became a hustle, right? Chasing somebody down in a trade show, right? You never know
That's
who
it.
you're going to run into or
yeah,
what's going to happen. And you got to put yourself in the way of those opportunities, right? And, in conferences and trade shows and so forth, people look at them in different ways, but if you're intentional about them and you leverage that opportunity, right, and you snag it, right? There's a lot of people that won't put in the effort. Oh, they'll never say yes to us. But that's the difference, right? Between entrepreneur and people are going to hustle and kind of make something happen is see if you can create something, out of the situation. So,
and I couldn't agree more with that statement right there. And whether it's a trade show or other event, that if you just go and stand at a booth, no, but who's here? Who's posted online that they're going to be here? Who do I have to find? Who do I need to ask for an introduction to? And it doesn't need to be 50 people. Who are the 5? That's where the magic happens. And that's something that I've been really fortunate, is just to not have that fear to ask the crazy question of asking somebody to talk.
Yeah. It's just a matter of putting yourself in that opportunity. It's actually it's one of my hacks I do when I do conferences and trade shows, and having a virtual system business. I have a couple of them that live in my LinkedIn account and help manage. And I call it pre-wiring a conference. And so, before I'll get there, and again, it's all about the messaging, right? It's you don't go spam people and so forth. It's just, like when we were starting in the franchise space, we got a lot of clients in that space now. And so I, first started going, I didn't know many people there at all, right? So I'd get the, attendee list, pull it out of it, and then get my VAs to go find everybody's LinkedIn profiles, and then just connect and just say, hey, look forward to, experiencing the XYZ show for the first time. Maybe I'll bump into you there. That's it. And then it would start. And then we would post tons of content about franchising at the same time. So all of a sudden I'm creating like this whirlwind of activity and visibility, all just on LinkedIn before I even get to the conference ahead of time. And I get there and people are coming up. So yeah, Brad, you connected with me, or so-and-so. Yeah, we connected, and so forth. So I got more conversations going before I went to the conference than most people have once they've actually gotten there, all through LinkedIn, just saying, hey, what time are you arriving? Or, hey, are you going to check out so-and-so, speaker? Have you heard any good things about them? Just like you would in a normal conversation. And it's the nuance of message. It's not the medium. Everybody's like, oh, I tried LinkedIn, doesn't work. Well, if you go spam people with a bunch of like cold stuff, it's not going to work. You got to treat it like, the halls of the conference and have those, conversations. So that's awesome, man. And then the second theme I'm hearing around that is focusing on education, right? You kept giving back and educating 500 plus, Apple employees. And this parlays into our subject matter today, that it's all about just adding value and putting it out there and not expecting anything to return. And if you just keep putting good stuff out there and adding value and being a place, you'll earn the right to be in that person's top of mind as that expert, because there will be a life and business event at some point where they will need you at a deeper level, and you'll have earned that spot in their head. So that's cool to hear.
That's been my focus really for the last 18 months when it comes to AI, more in the mid-market, which has been, and that's what I love, is actually being able to work with peers who, especially those that have realized that, AI is really important to our future. We've tried some things that probably haven't worked because of the 95% fail rate on AI, but we've tried some things. I don't know where to start. So I've been, for the last 18 months, teaching folks, rewinding, how to use ChatGPT. How do you set it up? How do I start building AI into my company culture? How do I make business graphics using AI? And just workshop after workshop, giving that away. I agree with you. I think that's super important to just help people. And I'm a big believer that, you put it out there, you help folks, and then good things happen.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to, you kind of got a boat out in the water, and whoever can get the most tasty, high quality, valuable bait in the water at scale, because the fish are in there and they're swimming around, right? It's who can have the most bait in the water that's the most attractive, because they're going to bite your bait when they're hungry, right? Versus someone else's, if you can do it right at scale. So that's fantastic, man. So as far as the education, and so to punch down into that particular exact issue, and as you and I were talking about before we started, it's the same thing for me in the whole virtual assistant offshore world. Small to medium businesses, right? They traditionally, because of their size, they've got a million things, and most people are kind of overstretched and thin and what have you. So it's everything they're doing to kind of keep the business as is underway, right? And to entertain a new approach, a newer strategy, can be a lot to entertain, even if it makes them walk on water, right? I mean, I could tell Alex, this product will make you walk on water. Well, sorry, I'm too busy. I got to go put out this fire, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's the capacity, to be able to absorb it. And that's why I think the SMB market will take a while to ultimately absorb this stuff. And that's why what you're doing and kind of what we're trying to do is so significant. We bring, as far as bringing VAs and AI together, and what your world is helping them hold their hand in that process. And first, let's just help you identify what are the challenges that you're navigating before we even talk about the solution. But real quick, so tell people exactly sort of what it, because it's really cool what you've kind of created. Just give people a snapshot. We'll time dive into as far as what you've created with this platform on AIY and exactly what it does, kind of at a high level. And then we'll talk about some specific case study examples of how people are using it.
So AIY, that's AIWHY. We called that .io is the link to it. So AIY, specifically, all AI needs a Y. That's the summary of why 95% of AI implementations are failing. The same reason I suspect that you run into when it comes to the VA side of things. There has to be a why. There has to be a real business problem. So what we're helping folks with is, first off, really road mapping. Hey, where can we go with this? And that's not a 3-year roadmap. That doesn't exist for AI right now. It's a 3 to 6 month roadmap of where do we start? Then helping folks get into AI agents where they can start doing some work, again, with a why. But we've created these concepts of a digital staffer, so a digital team member who can jump in, that because we kept seeing a bunch of, the same way you do, common problems across organizations. So we have some digital staffers that can address a bunch of those, and they can quickly roll out and help people. And then
there we go. I'm trying to find my link there.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then really the third piece is helping folks also with the, we call it our AIY executive partner. So, hey, how do we help provide some senior leadership guidance and partner with the leaders to solve the right problems at scale for them? So it's really, again, making sure AI is pointed at the right problems. You're continuing to walk a roadmap along to get to the results. And if you do that, whether you're applying internal chat GPT and Copilot tools, whether you're building agents, whether you're applying the AI tools in your latest tools, some of the stuff we were just talking about, I don't care what the AI is, it has to have a why, and there has to be a plan. We can't just fire a bunch of these things out there. I see so many organizations that have struggled because they automated stuff that doesn't matter. And that doesn't help.
Random acts of AI. I think you and I were talking about. A lot of people, they feel like they're frenzy. I've got to get an AI game. And so they just start randomly doing different things without really kind of stepping back and, to your point, having a why and really seeing where it can apply.
That's exactly it. So I've been very passionate about this. And this started really about 18 months ago with just, again, educating lots of peers, lots of small to medium-sized business owners and visionary entrepreneurs. And then seeing that there was that common problem of, hey, how do we start? And just needing a guide through the process. Not trying to sell other things, because there is so much AI snake oil right now. It's really hard to navigate that.
It is. I mean, it's there was somebody sharing the other day, they saw a speaker at an AI conference that said, don't invest in AI right now, ironically enough. And they said, because there's so much, right? There's so much noise and so much stuff, and everybody's trying to get a piece of the buck. And like, 2 kids in a dorm room, right? With with lovable.dev, you can throw a website up, right, in 2 minutes that looks credible and authoritative and, and claim that they can do AI. And it's creating a ton of noise. And, and the same thing, like in the whole virtual assistant offshoring world, right? I mean, in the last year, couple of years, everybody's like, oh, I want to get in the VA business and so forth. So they throw stuff up and it creates all this noise because they don't do it right. They don't take care of people. They don't have the proper process. And then you have to kind of fight and re-educate people, as I'm sure you kind of go down that, down that journey.
Oh, exactly. There has to be the reason why. There has to be doing things the right way. And for me, one of the things I love about AI, and it's exactly the same thing that happened with mobile apps back in 2012, 2013. It's the Trojan horse to have a business process conversation and a business results conversation. We get to now have the conversation of, hey, we're going to do business differently. This isn't just automate a thing. If you're only using AI to just automate a thing, we're missing the boat. This is, we can now do things differently. We can serve customers differently. We can work differently internally. We can empower people. What does that look like? So every time we're starting a conversation about AI, we leave AI out of it. It's all about the business. What's the business friction? What's standing in the way? What can't you do today that you should be able to do because of stuff that's there that's low value work? Then we can talk about the tech, but it's starting outside the tech.
So on that point, what is the specific question? Because I know you and I actually have kind of a similar approach, that when you're beginning with someone, right? And with ours, I talked about as kind of this 2-question exercise. And again, it's about simplicity. The more complex you make surveys and assessments, you're gonna get employees to gloss over and what have you. With us, it's simply asking staff, like, what are you doing that isn't the best use of your time? And then how many hours per month are you spending on it? And you got to give them psychological safety to actually be okay to tell you things that they don't think is the best use or value of their competency. And then secondly, what do you want to be doing, or what do you think we should be doing as a business from where you sit anywhere in the company that we're not doing due to time, money, and knowledge constraints? And, not only does it give you a runway of things that it tells you people may be burning out because they tell you a bunch of things that aren't worth their time. There are risks for leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, it gives you insights about where there are constraints in the business. But the third is, like, as we talked about, is employees feel, valued, that their voice is being valued. And it's an opportunity to revisit everything. And I tell people, look, if you don't ever outsource or hire a VA for anything, do this 2-question exercise at least once a year to unpack things. Because every time I've seen a business owner be like, Jane, you've been with me for 7 years and you have 48 items on this list. Well, you never really kind of asked me. So I know you have a version of kind of that you guys do on that process. Kind of what is the unpack question you guys do?
The wording is actually very, very similar. It really is. It comes down to, and as a member of Strategic Coach is the example, it's, folks have a unique ability. What is it that you're doing that, same thing, isn't the best use of your time, or that, is not the unique thing you bring to the organization? What were you hired to do? What are you doing that's not the job you were hired to do? But the second part that you hit is also the other key. And I actually detailed a bunch of this in my book back, the $1 Billion Apps book. How much time? We have to quantify the friction, because this is where people fall into a trap of, oh, well, I shouldn't be doing this. Well, if I only do that once a month and it takes 10 minutes, who cares? If I do this 10 times a day and it takes a half hour, that matters. So yeah, capturing that friction is huge.
We think you hit on that first question does no good, because a lot of people, when they get asked that question, what are you doing? It's not the best use of your time. If you stop there, they're like, that didn't take much time. And I won't put that. But when you make people put a pencil to it every time, they're like, okay, like, geez, I spend 6 hours a month doing TPS reports. And the owner's like, well, I don't even look at those anymore. Well, I'm still making them for you. And so you end up finding
I agree. Yeah, the exercise just surfaces such great conversations. And I think the other part to this is that we try to make sure, sometimes we do it as live conversations with folks, especially in the enterprise. We'll do them live there of user experience interviews, that kind of stuff. But before sending out a survey, we try to make sure to coach their leaders on how to position that with their team.
Yeah.
Because especially when we're talking about AI, the very first thing that people are thinking about do you want to know my business process so that you can automate it and fire me?
Yeah. The psychological safety part is so key.
Exactly. So as an organization, what's your stance on why you want to use AI? Is it truly, you know what, you're a valuable employee to me. We've invested in you. You match our culture. You're a part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you superpowers. Now, it doesn't mean your job's not going to change. You might be doing other high value work, but we want to give you superpowers. Whatever that message is, I was just having a conversation with somebody today about this. You need to make sure your message is clear to people, because if you don't give them a message, they're going to make up their own, which is they're trying to fire me.
1,000%. That's literally when I tell people, and we'll share with everybody in the show notes too. This is kind of a little, Google Doc version of this we put together, where we have a little video instruction, and then we share with people 700 things that the VAs can do across all dimensions of the business, and then kind of have these 2 questions and a template where they can have their staff fill it out. And in the instructional video, I say, look, you've got to give your staff psychological safety, that it's okay to tell you things that aren't the best use of your time because you value their competency and ability. But hey, look, if you have a low performing individual, nobody needs that in their organization. But
that's a different issue.
Their contribution, right, is key.
Yeah.
Let's jump into in our time left, and I know you got to jump here soon, is some specific examples of how a lot of times I've shared when we're talking about just about VAs and outsourcing, specific case studies. So if you got a couple, I know you guys are kind of getting underway with the business, but some that stand out to you of how they've used, one of those agents and the impact it's had in the business for them.
Absolutely. So the digital staffers that we've created, one of them, for example, is his name's Clario. It's got a picture and a bio and everything else. And his job is to essentially provide a daily briefing for each meeting that someone's going to have. Here's everything you need to know before you walk into that meeting. And that's the kind of thing that a very high-end executive assistant could absolutely deliver. But the challenge is that wouldn't necessarily include every email from the past 2 years. It wouldn't include all of the CRM data. It wouldn't include past conversations. So Claro is able to grab a much broader set of context and crunch that down to, hey, here's what you need to know, including, you know what? Don't forget that Jim has 2 kids and that he went skiing last year. Whatever that kind of stuff is, that's the kind of thing that and in the particular case, the individual I'm thinking of that went through this with us, did the road mapping. This individual was spending between 10 and 15 minutes for each meeting that they were going to have researching someone, going through all of their notes and doing those types of things with an expectation of 4 to 6 meetings a day. That's an hour to an hour and a half a day doing that research, building profiles of the individual that they're talking to. I've never talked to this person before. Okay, Clario actually generates a 1-page profile of who is this person based on their LinkedIn posts. What are they likely passionate about? How to best connect with them? What topics are they interested in? But give that context so someone can have great conversations.
Yeah, because it'll make it a much more effective dialogue whenever. It drives me nuts. I mean, I was on a call with a vendor the other day, and he showed up, and all the stuff I filled out beforehand, it's like I hadn't even paid attention to it. And like, my time is valuable. Why are you asking me about my business and what I do? You should come to this call having read all that stuff, know my business and 5 ideas so we can accelerate this. That's how you show me you value my time. So when people can show up to a call and remember context and, last time you spoke about what's going on in their life, or, they just moved into a new territory or something big happened, you can reference those things like that immediately subconsciously says this person actually, cares and knows, kind of about me.
And they're investing in the conversation. They understand my organization and our pain points. And again, not just for sales, but for anything of, not walking in cold and not remembering who am I talking to? That's a crappy feeling. I don't ever want to feel that again.
No, I've had those sometimes, I know for sure, and it's not the place you want to be, but being able to, so Clario can kind of aggregate all that information and just make it very turnkey. And, for people to know that, I mean, the ROI, it can be the difference of keeping someone engaged and wanting to continue working with you or, or not.
And that's the key.
Or otherwise.
Time savings is a great initial measure, but it's the quality of the conversations that enables. That's really the game changer. And again, I think the key here is, and I've had folks ask this. Okay, so what's the salary of the employee that a Clario would replace? Like, you wouldn't have a person do that. It's a different set of work. It's a different kind of working. We wouldn't normally do that. So I think this is a great example of working differently. So that he's provided some great time savings for folks. Another example, we've got an organization that's using Savvy, which takes conversation transcripts, and every tool out there can take a transcript and turn it into meeting notes, and great. But what Savvy focuses on is actually extracting different types of information based on if it's a sales call or a project meeting or a stand-up or an EOS level 10 meeting, whatever business meeting it is, extract that and store it to power, whether it's Clario or let me ask a question of it. So this particular case, this organization, again, looked at how much time people were taking to take meeting notes. And even when the notes got delivered, they were, I'll just say, not enamored with the meeting notes that they got from all the recording tools out there, because it was, what that tool wants to give you, here's what you get. Tuning it to their organization of, hey, when we're having a sales conversation, these are the 10 things that matter to us. Okay, great. Now you've got those. They estimated that saved them 3 to 5 minutes per meeting attendee, and very, very quickly grew their value out there to the point where in their first month or two using it, we're able to point at I think the number was 35 to 40 hours a week savings.
Wow.
For a team of 40. That was huge. And again, not just the people savings, but then, I've got better information now that we never had before. I personally actually just used Savvy recently for some of the webinars that I've been giving, or even sales conversations. One of Savvy's missions for us is, you know what, extract every question that was asked by somebody from an external participant, and how did we answer it? And immediately building all of our frequently asked questions content from all the conversations we're already having. That was awesome.
That's fantastic. And it's a great way to audit, your sales team's, performance as well, right? Kind of
exactly
how they're being trained and the kind of questions and how they're managing it. And so you can kind of go and extract and kind of grade, sales conversations. Are they asking certain things and taking it down the right path?
Oh, absolutely. And so again, the agents are, I love them. They provide immediate value, but I think some of the highest value contribution that we can help folks with is being focused in the right direction. And I can share an example recently. Well, actually, it's multiple companies where their mission has been, you know what, we're a 365 based organization. We're implementing Copilot. We're wiring it into all our data and email and our stuff and rolling it out to everybody. But there was no answer to the why. What are we hoping this does? And by spending all of that time boiling the ocean of all of the data, all of the stuff, no one's ever asked, how are we trying to help these people? What are we trying to do? And that, again, back to the 95%, that's a distraction, as opposed to, I don't care if it's only one person in the organization using AI. If it delivers great business results, that's the place to start.
Yeah, that's why you see so many wheels getting spinned, and a lot of the reports that came out, last year, that companies just had massive failures on AI. It had nothing to do with may some come to do with the AI or the platform that they chose, right? Because there's so many that are out there, but it just didn't. It boils down to not doing the proper planning, and I'd rather do one thing really, really well than just go scattered random acts of AI out there, and not really deliver value. And so, and we tried to adopt that in our own, operation. We keep these playbooks for clients where we detail all the work that we do, document all the processes and systems, and then we use Google Workspace, and so we use Gemini, our secure,
nice.
And it'll go analyze. So we were manually because for clients, they want to know what other things can a VA do, or what other value that you can do with the VA or what have you. And so we wrote some custom Gemini platforms, Gemini Enterprise, that'll analyze all of it and then predict where's the biggest value. And then we produce an entire report for a client that says, hey, here's the 15 different ways that you could further maximize based on historical, kind of trends. And just that one thing, there's 100 ideas with that one thing, right? At the end of the day, we want to retain clients and we want them to see an opportunity to add more that we can continue adding, value.
Well, so, if I may, I think that's a beautiful example of working differently and providing more value to the client. I love that, which is, where can AI add something on top of what we're already doing, extract new insights, present something in a different way? Number one, it solidifies your value to the customer, but it also lets you do it differently. I love that.
Yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, I think when we create businesses, we want to, what we would want as an entrepreneur. It drives me nuts when vendors, or the typical $5,000 a month marketing agency retainer. Well, what's my ROI? Well, don't worry about that. We'll talk about it 6 months, and it takes a while to get traction and this, that, and the other. I mean, from day one, when we work with people, we want to know the KPIs of exactly how we're going to measure our performance to demonstrate ROI. And we have monthly business performance reviews, and they're like, I just won VA with you, and you're giving me this 20-page report. I'm like, I know, because I care about your money, and I want to have a 5-to-1 ROI within the first 90 days minimum, and then show them and count their money, for them. And so I know that's kind of the same mentality that you have, right? It's like, I appreciate vendors. They're fanatical about knowing how they can get an ROI as fast as possible. Not, how can they get away with playing to not lose versus playing to win, which I find to be the case sometimes.
Agreed. And that's the interesting thing when it comes to, I'll say, services businesses. AI is really transforming it, where the hourly work model is kind of going away. Well, what does that get replaced with? How are we looking at the value that we're delivering, and how do we scale that value even more with the team we have? Well, that's where AI comes in.
Yeah. And we're seeing in our business, I mean, we're knee-deep in training our staff in it. And, sometimes it's their physical work makes sense, especially we run 150 different software applications for companies that AI completely is not fully revolutionized type of yet. But, our staff end up learning the AI bots and running it for the business. And if they don't have to learn it themselves, and it's like, hey, we can provide someone and the bot, so they're getting full, it's like 1 + 1 = 5. Then they don't have to learn AI, and they don't have to figure it out, right? And then they're getting it executed. So it kind of all, kind of goes hand in hand. So, well, man, it's always been fantastic to connect with you. And I know we could talk about 100 other different case studies, and maybe we'll have another episode as you continue down your journey and mine. I'm sure we'll have dozens of other great case studies to share with folks. So as far as learning about Alex, go to AI. Well, we'll have all the show notes and everything with Alex. AIWHY.io to kind of learn about his business. I think folks can download or get a guide or information there directly on the site.
And they can actually apply to join. We have a leaders community for practical AI there as well. So if it's something that folks want to join, so all the resources, we give it all away. We just have folks apply so that it doesn't end up going off into the spammers' hands. But there's, classes, tools, all kinds of fun stuff behind the scenes there. And if anybody would like to connect with me, just alexbratton.com. We'll take you to the info for the connect.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Alex. And now I'm going to join the membership. I think I saw this last time we connected. So I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And learn more about us at outsourceaccess.com. And that 2-question exercise I talked about, if you email tools at Outsource Access, tools with an S at outsourceaccess.com, you put Alex in the subject line. We'll know which episode it came from. And we will shoot that entire kind of template that you can kind of go through, has an instructional video, and show you exactly how you can go through that journey with your staff. And I'm sure if you join the membership here with Alex, you get a ton of resources and learn their journey and process as well. So thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate it. And until next time, good luck on your scaling journey. Take care.